Hi everyone, happy Saturday. I am back again to share a few points with you, some good and some bad. I was actually going to do this video yesterday on Friday because I had the day off of work, but I did not dare use up any extra internet in my house during the school day. And like many of you, I was a little bit fried by the end of the school day. And so here I am on a Saturday. And before I get started, I just wanted to say that this is really hard. Life is just so dang hard right now. Literally, just in this last week, we have dealt with massive fires in Northern California, awful air quality, political and racial unrest to an extent that many of us have never even seen in our lifetimes. We've started distance learning with our kids, either this past week or in the last few weeks. We've had more death and more good lives lost to cancer. And on top of it all, we are being attacked by mosquitoes if you are here in Kern County. And while I honestly don't have an answer to any of it, I can only hope that some good will come from this later down the road. Maybe these challenges will allow us to become better and stronger in our own right. Or maybe 20 years down the road, we will attribute this difficult time to what led to major innovation and change, whether that is in how we treat one another and how we take care of our planet, or even in how we medically treat viruses. I don't know why all of this is happening. I don't know why it's all happening at once, but I do really believe that things happen for a reason, and somehow we will overcome all of these things. So back to what I originally intended to talk to you about before this week came at us like a meteor shower is where do we stand when it comes to COVID-19, and what can we do to get our kids back into school? And in terms of where we stand, I would say the quite honest answer is that most of us are really frustrated. This last week with distance learning just taught me that we have got to get our act together, and we have got to get our kids back in school, because no matter how good of a job you are doing, your teachers are doing, your students are learning, this is really hard for everybody that is involved. And I think there is so much benefit to be gained from our kids getting back to school when our numbers get better. We're 5 months out from when we first closed down on March 17th, I believe it was. And a lot of our businesses are still closed down, or they're trying to function in extreme heat. Our kids are obviously not in-person school. Test results were taking 7 to 10 days to come back, and I do think this has actually improved here in the last week. Your healthcare workers are tired and burned out, and the hospitals are still having some trouble staffing beds. So it's not a great position to be in, but my advice is this. We are somewhere amidst a marathon. I am really not sure if it's mile 6 or mile 13 or mile 20 of 26, but we are in it. We are not close to the finish line, guys, but it doesn't mean that the finish line doesn't exist. It means that we need to adapt what we're doing so that we can keep running this race until it is over. So first, let's talk about the numbers. Number one, for your own sanity, I'm going to ask you, or tell you, however you want to take it, to stop scrutinizing the numbers on a daily basis. Even I had to do this for my own sanity, because it's just not good to look at it every single day. And while it does seem like they have stabilized recently, I know that it can be really erratic if you're watching the numbers every day. Some days are great and you think, oh my goodness, we finally are achieving something. And then other days a backlog comes in, and then you feel so frustrated that we aren't making any progress. And I also really, really encourage people to stop calculating the mortality rate. I keep seeing this CDC meme that is popping around, and I really feel like I have to use this platform to teach you and to set the record straight. In the strictest sense of epidemiology, you actually cannot calculate a mortality rate or a case fatality rate during a pandemic. It can only reliably be calculated when the pandemic is over. And you might be saying, what? And to keep it simple, let's say this. Perhaps we have 1,000 cases, obviously hypothetical, on September 1st, and we have 10 deaths at that time. You cannot say that the mortality rate is 10 divided by 1,000 or 1%. And I gotta get my notes out because it gets a little bit complicated. The reason is because you have included all of the cases up until that day, 1,000. But amongst that 1,000 cases, there are people in that group that have not yet died. So you don't have an outcome for all 1,000 of those cases, whether they are alive or dead. And what we're seeing right now, that the average time to die from COVID after symptoms present is increasing. And this may be because our healthcare workers are getting better at offering supportive care in the hospital, or it might be because, quite honestly, more younger folk are getting the virus as opposed to the older folks who are wisely staying at home, and they simply put up a longer fight. So of those 1,000 hypothetical cases on September 1st, maybe another 10 will die in 3 to 5 weeks. But then in 3 to 5 weeks, you have more cases, and then you have more deaths, a non-negligible number of deaths, I might add, that are going to occur from the new cases. And so you're constantly chasing your tail, and you can't calculate a mortality rate in the midst of a high number of new cases happening on a daily basis. And this is particularly bad practice when it comes to looking at the CDC numbers, because they have a far greater lag time in confirming the number of deaths from when that death actually happens to when the death certificate lands in their office, to when it is logged and finally added to the website. Because I can reassure you that their first priority is not updating the website so that we can continue to incorrectly calculate a mortality rate. And I do understand that you want and you deserve accurate information, but I will tell you that tracking these daily numbers is not the way to get it. And I know that one major frustration that people have is not knowing where to turn for reliable information that they can trust. And right now, most of the news stations just sort of give you the daily numbers because there isn't a whole lot more to talk about, right? It just seems like the same thing again and again and again. But I will tell you, when things get really bad, or hopefully when they get much better, you will know about it. And that was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. I actually think that we are starting to see some improvement, as much of the nation has when it comes to these numbers. And it's tiny, I will tell you, it is tiny, but it's something, and we have to celebrate the small things right now. Hospitalizations are coming down, the number of ICU beds that are occupied and ventilators that are available are improving. If there is no backlog, which is currently in place, and I don't expect it to be as such because most of the backlog seemed to be after 4th of July when we were just completely inundated with cases and tests that had to be processed. And I really think that our cases are coming down. Unfortunately, our deaths are not yet improving, but as I mentioned above, the deaths that we're seeing now are still the effects of the cases from several weeks ago. So if we continue in this trend where our cases are coming down, then hopefully the deaths are going to follow suit. Now, how are the cases being monitored? How can you say they're getting better? Let me show you a little bit of what I found in my investigation. You may have seen yesterday that the entire monitoring system has been completely revamped, and it's now in a color-coded system. And unfortunately, we are in the purple or widespread zone, which is the worst zone of the 4 that currently exist. As our percent of positive cases decreases, or the number of cases per 100,000 population decreases, we'll move into better zones, and then more businesses can open up. Over the past 4 days, our percent positivity has come down. It went from 12.9 to 12. So if we can move down by 1 percentage point every 4 days, our goal is ultimately to get to less than 8% in order to move out of the purple zone. To me, that's actually feasible if we continue on this track of moving down 1 percentage point every 4 days. And over the past 4 days, we've seen a decrease from 34 to 30 new cases per 100,000 population. Again, this is a step in the right direction, but we have to be between 4 and 7 new cases per 100,000 population in order to move out of the purple zone. And roughly, that is 36 to 63 cases per day. And so we have our work cut out for us, friends. It's going up, it's going down. There is a very small trend, in my opinion, and just what I see in my office as well, that we are moving in the right direction. But we are not anywhere close to coming out of that purple zone, which means that we are not anywhere close yet to letting our businesses open up and letting our kids get back into school, which is where they really need to be. And the reason why I wanted to make this video specifically is because honestly what I believe is driving these numbers and why we are not moving down further or at a more rapid rate is because of the small and large gatherings that are taking place all across our county. Folks, we have to stop having these parties. We have to stop hosting them. We have to stop attending them. And I know that's hard because I know we are struggling with everything that's happening in the world. And the one thing that tends to make us humans feel better is to be around people that we love. And it doesn't mean that I'm cutting you off from everyone. But honestly, if we don't stop with these gatherings and we don't stop with the clusters, we're never going to get out of the purple zone and we are never going to get the lives back that we deserve. So again, I know it is so much to ask for, but to put it in perspective, us missing a party really pales in comparison to what we're putting our kids through. We can argue, quite honestly, until the days end about whether counting cases is the right thing to do, or looking at hospitalizations is the right thing to do, or looking at the number of deaths is the right thing to do. But the bottom line is that the lives of our schools and our businesses are going to be governed by the case rate that we spoke about above. And in short, we have to get our cases down so that we can get back to business, literally. And when we do finally move into these better zones, we absolutely have to maintain our due diligence. Otherwise, we're just going to get thrown right back into the purple zone and we're going to enter this yo-yo process and never get back to life. And I will talk a little bit more about gatherings and the upcoming holiday that's coming in 2 weeks in just a moment. But first, how do we get these numbers down further? Masks. I know you guys are so tired of hearing about these masks. I'm tired of talking about the masks, but honestly, it is time to buckle down. These masks need to be worn correctly, first and foremost. When you wear them here, that doesn't help. When you wear them here, that doesn't help. When you wear them so loose that every time your jaw moves, it pops all up and down your face, that doesn't help. And this is not rocket science, folks. We can find a cloth covering that actually can stay fit well. And the other thing that I really hate to say is that if you are in a bigger group, you know, outside of, let's say, your quarantine, which is hopefully just you and another family or your immediate family, these masks have to be worn, because this is where we're seeing the cases, is in clusters of small and large gatherings. And I've said it 100 times, I know it's weird to have a mask on when you are around people that you care about. But if you care about them, you will wear the mask, right? So we've just got to get over it and we've got to do it. Now the bigger issue, and I've talked about now, is the small and the large gatherings. I'm telling you, Labor Day is coming up. And we jinxed ourselves with 4th of July, quite honestly, because we opened up towards the end of May. Things were a little rocky in June, and they got set on fire in July. And our businesses closed back down, and our schools did not open, quite honestly, because of what happened in July. And we need to make sure that that does not happen with Labor Day. I know that we deserve to celebrate with our friends and our family, and we will get back to that point at some time. But if we go about and have the same type of parties for Labor Day that we did for 4th of July, we are only going to set ourselves back further. And as a county and a community, we're going to suffer together through that again. So this also, I want you to know, applies to these bigger gatherings when you're outdoors. A lot of people feel like, well, I've had 25, 50 people over, but we were all outside. Nobody went inside, so it's okay. But 25 to 50 people is a lot in a very small place. If you guys are all spread out over 6 miles of beach, okay, that's all right. But typically, if you have 25 or 50 people having a barbecue on the beach and you know all of them and you're all close together and you're all getting your buns and your hamburgers and your hot dogs and your drinks and you're socializing under the tent so that you're not in the blazing heat, cases are going to spread that way. I promise you they will spread that way. We've seen it. So again, keep the gathering small. Don't even make it a setup. And as I have seen pictures of Hart Park and Lake Ming and Lake Isabella, gosh, guys, I know it is hot outside and I know you want to get some respite, but it is a full-blown party out there and it is setting us backwards. We absolutely have to buckle down right now, because if we don't, it's like I said, we are never going to move forward. We're never going to get out of that purple zone. And quite honestly, it's been over 5 months and I don't want to do this for 5 more months. You don't want to do this for 5 more months. And I don't believe that this virus is magically going to disappear. Our lives have forever been changed because of it, but we can control this, folks. Other cities in this nation have done it. Other counties in California have done it. In fact, 5 different counties came off of the watch list this week in California, and we were not one of them. It's going to take a lot of vigilance, but we have to work together on this issue, and then it will actually come sooner. So that's it, friends. I know it's kind of deep and it's kind of heavy and it's been a rough week and I didn't want to get so deep with you, but I felt as though I had to get this message out in advance of Labor Day because I really don't want to take steps backwards. I've seen so many teachers, parents, students expressing their fatigue, their frustration, their anger, their tears with distance learning, and everything else that's happening certainly does not help. So we are at a point in time right now where, quite honestly, my opinion doesn't make a difference. Your opinion doesn't make a difference. We just have to do what is in the best interest of tens of thousands of kids in this county who, quite honestly, deserve better than this. So I really hope that you will join me in masking up and speaking up so that we can help our kids show up in school. All right, guys, that's it. Enjoy your weekend if you have to. I know I'm on social media, but take a break from social media. It's rough out there, but just know that I am thinking of you guys. I care about you guys, and I just hope that we can make this better together. All right, take care.